Once upon a time, deep in the gentle waters of Coral Bay, lived a tiny sea turtle named Tilly. Tilly loved splashing around her home among the soft corals, the anemones, and the dancing seaweed. Though there was nothing particularly special about her shell or her spots or the way she swam, Tilly was perfectly happy in her little slice of the ocean. She enjoyed watching the flashier sea creatures go by, like the speedy silverfish or the bright blue tangs. Or she'd watch the seahorses play hide and seek among the swaying sea fans. Tilly liked to keep to herself, taking slow, quiet swims over to her favorite coral rock, where colorful fish would weave in and out of its branches, their laughter sounding like tinkling bells. It was here that Tilly felt most at peace, surrounded by the muffled music of the reef, the gurgle of the current, and the bubbles singing their hypnotic lullabies. One sunny morning, Tilly was cleaning her shell with a bit of help from a friendly sea sponge. As she scrubbed away at the algae growing on her upper shell, she suddenly noticed something small and shiny stuck beneath one of the coral branches. At first, she thought it might be a lost piece of jewelry, something sparkly left behind by one of the surface dwellers who sometimes visited the bay. But then she saw that it was actually an old, narrow glass bottle, its neck sealed with a golden seashell. Tilly had never seen anything like it before. With a sudden surge of curiosity, she nudged the bottle with her nose. To her surprise, it wobbled, then slowly popped open. Peeking inside, she saw a tightly rolled piece of parchment at the bottom. Slowly, very slowly, Tilly extended her head into the bottle to try and grab it. It was just too dark and cramped in there to make out what it was. But once she got it out and uncurled it, she saw that it was a map. It was an old, yellowed map, the edges singed and frayed, showing a winding path through the ocean, starting right where she was, and ending at a place called the heart of the ocean. In the middle of the path, two symbols marked important places, Rainbow Reef and the Singing Stones. And if that wasn't enough to pique her interest, the map was sealed with another golden shell emblem, the very same one that adorned the bottle. Trembling with a mix of excitement and fear, Tilly slowly unfolded the map. Her gaze traced the route ahead, past the Singing Stones, and all the way to the heart of the ocean. She had never ventured beyond Coral Bay. All her life, she had been perfectly content to swim in the gentle waters close to home. But something inside her, something that sounded a lot like destiny, whispered, "You were meant for this." Tilly hesitated, glancing back at her safe and familiar coral rock. What was waiting for her out there? Would she find something wonderful or something terrible? She didn't know. For a moment, she wanted nothing more than to tuck herself under the coral branches and pretend that she hadn't seen the map at all. But then something in her heart, something stronger than her fear, began to beat faster and faster. Taking a deep breath, she tucked the map behind her shell and set off toward Rainbow Reef, her flippers firm on the sandy bottom, her mind full of wonder and apprehension. The journey was long, and after a while, Tilly began to feel a little scared. What if she didn't find anything at the end of her journey? What if all of this turned out to be pointless? Doubts like these threatened to pull her back to the safety of her home. But every time she started to waver, she remembered the golden map and pressed on. Finally, she could see it in the distance, a kaleidoscope of colors weaving together like a painter's palette. Nearing the reef, she saw fish of every hue darting between the corals, making the reef come alive with splashes of red and orange, blue and green. A friendly clownfish, noticing her wide eyes, swam up to her and asked, "What can I do for you?" "I'm looking for," she started, then stopped, realizing that she didn't really know what she was looking for, only that it lay somewhere beyond Rainbow Reef. Seeing her confusion, the clownfish offered, "Well, since you're headed that way, why don't I show you around? I'm Zip, by the way." And with a wink, he zipped ahead, inviting her to follow. As they swam deeper into the reef, Zip pointed out all the wonders around them, the intricate patterns of the corals, at graceful movements of the seahorses, and even a grumpy pufferfish who was trying to make a den. Tilly, at first hesitant, found herself relaxing and giggling at Zip's endless stream of jokes. She even managed to spot a couple of moray eels peeking out from their hiding holes, something she never would have dared to do alone. After a while, Zip slowed down, pointing to a break in the reef. "And beyond this is the singing stones," he said. "Be careful there, though. If you get lost in the music, you might never find your way out." With a final wave, he disappeared back into the maze of corals, leaving Tilly to continue on her own. Now that she was alone again, the doubts and fears crept back into Tilly's mind. Was she really ready for this? What if the singing stones were too hard to navigate? Just as she was about to turn back, she saw it, a cluster of smooth, round stones standing upright like an ancient choir. The current seemed to flow right through them, and a haunting melody filled the water. Drawn by the music, Tilly swam closer, and the notes swirled around her, echoing in her ears. Suddenly, images flashed before her eyes, and she heard a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "If you wish to pass, you must show us what you can do. Test your knowledge against ours, and we will let you through." Startled, Tilly realized that the singing stones were alive, and they were challenging her to a test of wits. Slowly, the melody faded, leaving only silence in its wake. Taking a deep breath, Tilly began to explore the stones, searching for a way to pass their test. She traced their surfaces with her flippers, and as she did, cryptic symbols glowed faintly beneath her touch. One by one, she deciphered the riddles they posed, and each time she did, a musical note rang out, clear and true. Finally, the last tone sang, and the melody swelled, carrying her along on a wave of sound. As the song reached its crescendo, the stones parted, revealing a narrow passage between them. On the other side, the sound of rushing water beckoned her forward, and she knew that she was close to her destination. With renewed hope, Tilly swam through the opening and into the heart of the ocean. The cavern glowed with an ethereal light, and strange, beautiful jellyfish drifted through the water. Their tentacles brushed against her shell, sending shivers down her spine. Up ahead, she could see a treasure chest sitting on a ledge, but the jellyfish seemed to be guarding it jealously. As she approached, they pulsed with bright, angry colors, and their stinging cells flew toward her like tiny arrows. Remembering what the singing stones had taught her, Tilly stopped and watched, and suddenly she understood. Each flash of color, each pulse of light was a message. Carefully, she copied their movements, mimicking their dance. At first, her movements were clumsy, but as she continued, she began to flow with the rhythm of the cave. Slowly, the jellyfish began to glow a softer, gentler light, their anger fading into curiosity. When her movements matched theirs perfectly, they parted, revealing the treasure chest once more. Tilly swam closer, her heart pounding. What would she find inside? With trembling hands, she pried open the lid. But instead of gold or jewels, she found a collection of glowing pearls, each one pulsing with a soft light. Tucked beside them were small scrolls, each containing a kind message from some of the ocean's creatures. Finally, resting on top of the pearls was a simple crown made of coral branches and sea plants. As Tilly looked around, she saw that the jellyfish had transformed, their bodies now glowing softly and their stinging cells retracted. They had become peaceful, almost serene. In that moment, Tilly knew that she had found the heart of the ocean, not in the cave or the treasure, but in herself. She had braved the unknown, solved the sea's riddles, and made new friends along the way. Coral Bay would never look the same to her again. As the sun began its slow dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the ocean floor, Tilly knew it was time to return home. With her new treasure in hand, she retraced her steps, passing the singing stones and rainbow reef, each landmark now more familiar to her. When she finally reached her favorite coral rock, the familiar sight brought a sense of homecoming. Yet she was no longer the same timid turtle who had cleaned her shell there countless times before. Now, as the twilight deepened and the stars began to glimmer above, Tilly emerged from the water, her head held high, a gentle smile on her face. From that day on, Tilly the turtle was known throughout Coral Bay, not just as the quiet, shy resident, but as Tilly the brave, the one who had ventured into the unknown and returned with not only treasures, but with a newfound confidence that shone brighter than any jewel. Her story became a legend, whispered by the currents and echoed by the rocks, reminding everyone that the quietest voices can lead to the greatest adventures.